Well, over the weekend, I don't know if you saw this, but Brian McKnight got real personal about a situation with his children.
Yeah.
Yes.
After his children called him out for being a neglectful father.
Wow.
So his kids called him out.
Went online.
They went online. His son and his
then
daughter.
he got online
Had to defend himself.
to defend himself. Many people were critical, saying Brian McKnight shouldn't have done that. Like, don't play it out on social media. But Brian McKnight really felt like he had to do that. I have a clip of what Brian McKnight said, and I want to open the phones up and see what you think, Atlanta.
Anyone who knows me knows over the last 20 years, 30 years now, as a matter of fact, that I've been there for my children every step of the way until recently. And let's be clear, my two sons are 30 and 27. Not 12, not 13, but 30 and 27. I've never missed a day of child support. I've never done anything adverse to my children whatsoever. I would tell you, as parents out there, entitling your children is probably one of the worst things you can do, and I know I am guilty of that. You want to help them as much as you can, and I did as much as I possibly could. When I stopped doing that for them, BJ was 25 and Nico was 22. And it wasn't like I completely cut them off at that point. That happened much later. But I've been there. When I put them out of my house, I gave them an apartment for 2 years. And I said, guys, this is it. This is the time to grow up. I'm giving you 2 years. I'm going to pay for everything for 2 years, but you're going to have to work or do something, because at the end of those 2 years, that's going to be it. It's time to be men here, guys. It's time to grow up. At the end of those 2 years, they hadn't done any of it.
So here's what one of his sons, BJ, who he just talked about, wrote. I can't imagine abandoning my children, man. It's hard not to imagine the psyche of a man who can just turn his back on his actual sons, on his actual blood and creations. It's mind-boggling to me. I don't think there's any situation that merits the way my father has chosen to treat my brother, my sisters, and his grandchildren.
That's what he said before.
Yes, and that was Brian McKnight's response. What do y'all think?
Well, here's what I also want to say
this is a
this,
good
though.
one.
I don't know that their complaints were necessarily about money, because his daughter was saying she hadn't even gotten happy birthday phone calls. And it's interesting that his response was more so about the financial element, like I paid child support,
rather than
the emotional thing that they're complaining about. And that right there kind of is to their point, that they're saying, yo, abandonment, neglect, happy birthday, I just want you to be there emotionally. And his response is, I ain't never missed no child support payments. So it's interesting to see exactly why he chose to focus on the money part.
Why would they just, the money's a part of it, because why would they break out and say anything?
I mean, we don't really know.
30 years old. They could have talked about that emotional neglect at 18, 19, like half the other celebrities' kids.
No, that's not fair to say. I think the fact that he did choose to focus on money is an interesting thing.
What I'm
when
saying
all they
is
were calling him out on was the emotional neglect.
Okay.
Was the fact that she hadn't got a happy birthday phone call from her dad. You know what I'm saying?
No,
so
I don't know what you're saying.
I know what she's saying. I can relate. I think we all got daddy issues.
Okay.
You can't take one or the other?
No, I'm saying this. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
That maybe the kids did not get the emotional support they wanted.
Sure.
What I'm saying is, what motivated them now to come out on social media? Because the emotional neglect has been going on, obviously, you're saying, right?
I mean, according to what I'm reading, yeah, it seems like it's been a while.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, if he has to pay child support, I'm pretty sure there's plenty of emotional issues out of there.
Okay, listen to what I'm saying, though. If there's emotional neglect, we can all say that might be, okay?
Okay, right.
What I'm saying is, what motivates somebody to come out on social media and be like, say it like right now, like just out of nowhere?
I don't know.
It doesn't come out of nowhere. So probably
I think it's tied to the money.
Exactly.
Really?
It's tied to the money.
I don't think so. I don't think that's necessarily true.
Okay, so what would make you just pop up? Why put it up in public?
Who knows?
You've had 20 years to put it in public.
We don't know what kind of conversations they had behind closed doors of her, just of the daughter specifically, because she really, really touched on the fact that it was an emotional thing. My father hasn't called to wish me a happy birthday in years, and yet I sit by the phone every single year hoping that his heart will change. She was saying her brothers had to step up and be the father figures that she never had. So for her, it was emotional.
Let's go to the phone, see what you say.
Derek from Decatur, what do you think?
I got the same situation. I got a 30-year-old kid. I'm 50. The kid, they're entitled. It's entitlement. It's exactly, Brian hit it right on the nose. It's entitlement. The kids, when you tell them no about something, because they get really mad, so they lash out. And so this is exactly what's going on. It happens every day, especially if you were a non-custodial parent. That has a lot to do with it.
Ultimately, I think that the kids, they shouldn't be putting this stuff online in the first place. We don't know whether the issue is emotional neglect. We don't know if it's financial neglect. But ultimately, keep the business in house. That's the first thing that you said. Keep it in house. They're saying that they want to share this in case somebody else reads it and picks that up. I don't think putting this online helps nobody else.
Yeah,
if anything,
definitely doesn't.
I think it helps bring the family down.
It looks to me that this is a case of being spoiled.
That's not fair. That's not fair to say. And I think we're only having this conversation because Brian McKnight was successful. If this was any other kid who was crying out for emotional connection with their fathers who didn't necessarily have money to give, then we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Okay.
And that's not fair.
BJ, when he wrote what he wrote, he wrote a whole long thing.
Yeah.
Nowhere in there does BJ talk about emotional support.
Just talking about him being there.
He just says abandoning him. And he doesn't specifically mention what Brian does.
Right.
Bree is the only one, the daughter,
mentioned the
who mentioned the emotional
part.
support.
Yeah, but it's not like he mentioned financial either, though. So when he's saying abandonment, it could have been emotional or financial abandonment.
They're not clearly emotional, intelligent enough to speak it verbally.
You're talking
They're
about
not
they're too
what?
young?
They may not be emotionally intelligent enough to actually articulate it that way. Clearly, he's missing the emotional attachment to his father.
Wait a minute. What do you mean, Nina?
So you're saying because he didn't say it in the post. Well, not everyone can articulate what they're missing. He's saying abandonment. Abandonment is a lot of times emotional
abandonment.
Yeah.
He never once said money either in the same breath. You're saying there's no mention of emotion, but there's no mention of finance, and yet we're making it a financial thing.
I don't know what's going on between Brian McKnight and his kids.
Yeah.
But as a man who has had the experience of having kids and then being
in entertainment.
Yeah. I understand. I can kind of figure out what's going on here.
Okay.
The hard part is that as an entertainment father, you are able to afford your kid some hell of opportunities.
Yeah.
For sure. Certain opportunities
They get hell of experiences just because they're your children, right? Mm-hmm. But at some point as a father, you hope that they would kind of catch on,
walk away and take care of it a little bit,
and be able to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, like Brian McKnight said in his response, you kind of make them become.
You create the monster of dependency.
There's a matter of
Entitlement.
not selfish entitlement.
Exactly, entitlement.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if that's the case, then Brian McKnight said, look, I'm wrong. I gave my kids everything I didn't have.
Yeah.
And maybe I gave them too much. So there's a time when they have to step out on their own.
Yeah.
Because you think that they're watching me. They see my schedule. They see my hustle.
They see how you got to do it.
They see my practice.
My grind.
They see my grind. They see my late nights. Now, if you grow up and don't get it,
there comes a point where
there comes a point where you got to stop as a man and let them go out there on their own.
I can understand that.
The problem that happens here is the whole thing about not being with the father,
right,
even when they're young. There's always an issue of a child always wants more time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that's a very difficult thing. And here's the thing I wanted to say. And Nina's over here saying it's still Brian's fault.
No.
But the thing is, when you have a child with two people that don't live together, it is extremely important for each parent to big up the other parent.
Yeah, or not speak ill of the other.
It's not even a matter of not speaking, because not speaking at all is not good either.
True.
Because kids have questions.
Yeah.
So
you're right.
you have to always be like, your mom is dope. Your mom is working hard.
The good things.
Your dad
and
is
reiterate
dope.
that. Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
I agree.
This and that, whatever. And you got to always be able to come together. What this sounds like is that wasn't happening.
The kids have to carry that on into life too.